All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We are completely stripping away the noise, the endless notifications, and just the relentless speed of modern life to uncover something profoundly fundamental. We're stepping into this beautifully minimalist, philosophical space inspired by John Strzelecki's fascinating book, The Cafe on the Edge of the World. I want you to imagine a clean, quiet room, no clutter whatsoever, just you and your absolute deepest motivations. Okay, so let's dive right into this journey. It actually begins with a super relatable premise. We follow a protagonist who is totally overworked, questioning the endless treadmill of his daily life, and desperately needing a vacation just to recharge his batteries. But, well, instead of reaching his destination, he gets profoundly lost. Picture this. You're frustrated, you're running out of gas, and you're surrounded by miles of empty, pitch-dark roads. You glance down at your phone, hoping for any kind of lifeline, and you see only this: system unavailable. It's just a stark, solitary void. He is completely disconnected from the grid and thrust straight into the unknown. And what this brilliantly illustrates is actually a metaphor for his and, let's be honest, often our internal state. Just as he's physically lost on this dark, lonely road, he's mentally lost in life, totally unsure of exactly where he is going or why he's even moving in that direction to begin with. And then, just as his fuel gauge dips below empty, a single glowing light appears in the absolute middle of nowhere. It's a small, white building, the Cafe of Questions. It kind of feels like an old, comfortable diner, yet everything is pristine and perfectly new. This cafe represents a sudden, completely unexpected beginning. It's this glowing beacon that invites profound introspection precisely when you least expect it. But honestly, perhaps when you most need it. Our traveler, John, sits down in a simple red booth, completely unaware that a basic meal is about to challenge literally everything he knows about his existence. So he's handed a crisp, white menu by a waitress named Casey. And on the back of it, there are 3 items to ponder. The very first is a simple question: why are you here? At first glance, John just processes this passively. He thinks it's a quirky diner gimmick, basically asking why he walked through their front door. It's an outward observation, the kind of question you just brush past, like a billboard on the highway. But then, if you look closer, the text subtly shifts. Why am I here? Now, this is the ultimate Socratic question. Casey explains to him that it's one thing to glance at the menu, but it's a completely different thing to truly see it. Changing those few letters forces a massive, fundamental shift in perspective. You're no longer looking outward, you are forced inward. And Casey actually warns him, once you truly ask this of yourself, there's no going back. You will no longer be the same person. So this brings us to a really crucial concept: purpose for existing, or PFE. In a very clean intellectual sense, your PFE is the absolute core reason you are alive. Casey explains that asking, why am I here, opens a psychological gateway. It beckons you. And once you actually identify the answer, once you find your PFE, it becomes like seeing the X on his treasure map. The desire to find it, to live it out, becomes this undeniable physical and emotional force. You literally can no longer ignore it. It becomes incredibly difficult to not fulfill that reason. But you might be wondering, how do we actually pursue this in a world so full of distractions? Well, Casey shares this amazing memory of clear water over white sand off the coast of Hawaii. She was snorkeling one day and tried to keep up with a graceful green sea turtle. But despite wearing fins and paddling furiously, the turtle effortlessly pulled away from her. Why? Because the turtle wasn't fighting the ocean. It was synchronizing with it. It just floated when the waves pushed against it and then paddled hard only when the water pulled out toward the open ocean. This reveals an absolutely brilliant framework for energy management. On one hand, we have incoming waves. These are the countless distractions, societal pressures, and even the literal junk mail that demand our attention every single day. If you spend all your limited time and energy battling these incoming waves, you are going to be exhausted. So when the outgoing waves finally arrive, the actual opportunities, activities, and people that align with your purpose for existing, you'll have no strength left to paddle. The lesson of the green sea turtle is simple. Stop wasting your energy on the incoming waves so you can actually ride the outgoing ones. Yet society often pushes us to paddle against the current anyway, right? John meets another patron at the cafe, Anne, who's an incredibly successful former advertising executive. She shares a story of sitting in a dimly lit coffee shop, experiencing this profound inner conflict. Despite having literally everything society deems successful, she realized she was deeply lonely and completely unfulfilled. She realized she was essentially trading the finite, precious hours of her life for money, just to buy unnecessary things to comfort ourselves for having to work so much in the first place. And perfectly deconstructs this trap. She calls it the businessman cycle. Let's break it down. Step 1. Work a job that totally doesn't fulfill your PFE. Step 2. Because you're unfulfilled, you buy things to compensate, hoping they'll bring you some happiness. Step 3. Well, now you'll have more bills to pay. So step 4. You have to work even more hours at that unfulfilling job just to pay those bills. Advertising directly targets our fears and our deep desire for fulfillment, keeping us trapped in this frantic, cold loop. We basically end up waiting for some mystical retirement date to finally do what we want, all while buying gadgets to numb our present reality.
Then Anne drops this absolute truth bomb from her coffee shop mentor. The challenge is to realize that something is fulfilling because we determine it's fulfilling, not because someone else tells us it is. That piercing realization completely changed her trajectory. True fulfillment is entirely self-determined. You just cannot let advertisements, societal norms, or even well-meaning family members dictate your purpose for existing. You and only you are the author of your own story.
And this actually leads right into a classic philosophical contrast shared by Mike, the cafe's cook. On one side, we have the businessman. He's indefinitely delaying his happiness, working relentlessly to hoard wealth so he can one day retire and finally do what he loves. But on the other side is the fisherman. He already eats breakfast with his family, he fishes just because he loves it, and he watches the sunset with his wife every single day. The businessman tells the fisherman, hey, you should expand, build a corporate empire, make millions so you can eventually retire and do exactly what you're already doing right now. The fisherman gets it. He seamlessly integrates his passions into his daily routine today. Okay, so this brings us to the second, much heavier question on the back of the menu. It asks you to confront a subconsciously terrifying thought. Do you fear death? Mike and Ann explain that this fear isn't necessarily a daily panic about mortality. Not at all. Instead, it's a subconscious, creeping anxiety that we're simply running out of time. It's the deep fear of that future day arriving before we ever had the chance to actually do what we wanted with our lives.
But here is the beautiful, incredible relief to all that philosophical tension. You can't fear not having the chance to do something if you've already done it or you're doing it every day. This is the ultimate antidote. If you know your purpose for existing and you actually spend your outgoing ways actively living it every single day, the fear of an unfulfilled death just naturally evaporates. You aren't waiting for some uncertain retirement to start living, you're already doing it.
So, what should we take away from all of this? How do we actually pursue our PFE? Well, first, you have to continually try new activities to discover what truly aligns with you. Second, you've got to realize that most of our limits are entirely self-imposed. Seriously. And third, something truly fascinating happens when you align with your PFE. You experience what Casey calls exponential luck. When you radiate genuine passion for your purpose, it acts like a magnet. You naturally draw help, opportunities, and resources from other people because your enthusiasm is literally contagious. It feels mystical for sure, but it's really just the natural momentum of a life fully aligned. As our explainer nears its end, imagine leaving the warm, glowing exterior of the cafe, sitting there isolated in the dark. Our traveler, John, only spent a single night here, but he achieved incredible intellectual clarity. He learned to stop trading his life for money, to manage his energy like that green sea turtle, and to stop delaying his own fulfillment. The cafe existed for him exactly when he needed it most, serving us this clean, bright space for total transformation. And so we watch him walk through a bright, open, white doorway into the light, leaving that isolated dark road behind for good. But the menu had one final, lingering question printed on the back. It's a question that completely bypasses the noise, the incoming waves, and the advertising cycles, pointing directly at the very core of your existence. Are you fulfilled? Take that question with you today.